Mahaprabhu ki tananita gita Vaditramadyan manasorasena Ramanchakam pasutaranga bhaju Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Samsara Dhamma Nalavira Loka Tanaya Karuna Taptasya Kayana Gunadavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Hiradikama Dhamyona Pada Abuya Lila Urupananam Pratikshana Ganalolopasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Samsara Dhamma Nalavira Loka Pranaya Karuna Ganaganacha Taptasya Kayana Gunadavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Asya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Asya Prasada Navatirtha Topi Dayam Stubham Sasyaya Sastri Sandam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Samsara Dhamma Nalavira Loka Pranaya Karuna Ganaganacha Taptasya Kayana Gunadavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam
Just about anywhere in the world, because he's always traveling around doing preaching work, spending a lot of time in Southern and Eastern Europe. So we'll take turns between Sankarshan, Chintamani, and if there's any time left over, then myself will give a few stories and remembrances about Srila Prabhupada. Started like that. So this, and then afterwards, we'll see how much time we have, but afterwards, if there's any questions, we'll take a few questions. But tonight's just a night on memories and discussions about the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste So, one may ask, this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so why do you want to have Prabhupada night? This is Krishna consciousness. Krishna answered that question in the Adi Purana. He says, Ye me bhakta janaparta na me bhaktastate jana madbhaktanam chiye bhaktas te me bhaktamantamata. Ye me bhakta janaparta o sanaprita. The one who is my devotee, na me bhakta. He's not my devotee. But the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. So you want to be a devotee of Krishna? Do you want to be a devotee of Krishna?
Yes.
Well, we can say yes, and maybe we don't dare say yes. The answer is yes, of course. See, in a society of Krishna consciousness, but one has to know what is the method of how to become the devotee of Krishna. You become the devotee of Krishna, becoming the devotee of the devotee of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, the more we develop our love for Prabhupada, the more our Krishna consciousness flourishes. Sometimes people say, well, how much time did you spend with Prabhupada? Well, the answer is, what is your understanding of associating with Prabhupada? That's the first question, before we can answer that question. Srila Prabhupada always taught us again and again and again, he emphasized this point. There are two ways of associating with a spiritual master. That is Vani and Vapu. Vani means his teaching, his vibration, and Vapu is his physical presence. So which is more important? Prabhupada always emphasized Vani. So if you ask me how much association did you get with Prabhupada? Well, I say, well, about 40 years. I got initiated 40 years ago. So we had 40 years because I've been strictly following this process for 40 years. I never fell down, even though it's fashionable falling down nowadays. I never fell down. I'm old-fashioned. I always chant my rounds. I always thought that's one of those weirdos. I've always been loyal to Prabhupada, so that means I've been associated with Prabhupada for 40 years. And they say, well, what's the most enlivening moment you ever have with Prabhupada? And I say, well, I think the one I'm having right now is the most enlivening. Because Prabhupada consciousness is dynamic. It's not static. It doesn't depend on his physical presence. It's always expanding. If one is sincerely chanting his rounds and following the principles, then actually he's becoming close, he's feeling more and more Prabhupada's presence every day in his life. Prabhupada said like that about his Guru Maharaj. He said, I'm always feeling how my Guru Maharaj is with me, he's seeing me, he's guiding me, he's blessing me. He mentioned this in the concluding verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we actually are following our spiritual master, you see. Then we will always feel how Guru Maharaj, our spiritual master, is blessing us at every moment. How he's sitting in our hearts, and how he's given us a place of residence within his heart. So the anecdotes about, well, when Prabhupada said this and Prabhupada said that, they're very sweet. They're sweeter than the sweetest honey, but but the realizations one has while serving Prabhupada's mission in this way, becoming dearer and closer to Prabhupada with every passing day, those realizations are just as sweet as those anecdotes at the time that Prabhupada looked at me and said this, and like that. So we really have to connect with Prabhupada in the most powerful way that he told us was the most powerful way. Now I think, well, I never saw him, or I hardly ever saw him. So what can I do? No. How many times did Prabhupada see his spiritual master? He said not more than 10 times. That means maybe not even 10 times. He said not more than 10 times. Not more than 10 times. So it's not that you had to be one of those disciples who was with Prabhupada, traveling with him. Of course, we all wanted to do that. I know I do. I really wanted to travel with Prabhupada and be his cook. Actually, I got my second initiation. That was my inspiration. Well, let me really get into this and become Prabhupada's cook. That was my idea. Of course, I cooked for Prabhupada by cooking for the deities in the temple. That's cooking for Prabhupada. I was cooking actually when Prabhupada left the planet also. I was in the kitchen doing my cooking service when I was informed of his disappearance. So, what is the significance of this great personality, the divine Srila Prabhupada? What is the significance of him? That's a very important question to answer. In other words, our appreciation of Prabhupada is not simply some sentiment. Of course, sentiments are very nice. But we understand this person is a very pivotal person in the history of the whole universe, having more impact than Brahmaji, actually, for turning the tide of the Kali Yuga and bringing in the Prema tsunami predicted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Some may say, well, it seemed that way when Prabhupada was here, but now the movement's going through so many, it's not like it used to be, so how could it really be true that, the whole world's going to be inundated with Krishna consciousness? But actually it is true. There are ups and downs in anything. And actually our movement is expanding like anything all over the world. You should see what's going on in Malaysia these days. They have 35 temples and like 35 Rath Yatras every year in that one country. So things may slow down, I guess, here in the U.S., but the U.S. is just one little country. Look at the whole planet, and you'll see this movement is growing like anything all over the world. It's growing more than it grew even when Prabhupada was here. Actually, on a global level, we're experiencing more growth than we were in the heyday in North America. So, this movement is actually very dynamic and very powerful, and it's continuing to expand its influence on the planetary consciousness day by day. Moment by moment, it's becoming more and more solidly situated. So this is the great potency of Srila Prabhupada. This is the great potency of this very special devotee who was sent by Krishna to inundate this world with Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada's desire is that all the living entities in this whole material existence shall become Krishna conscious. And we, the members of his movement, have been blessed with the opportunity to assist him in this most wonderful spiritual revolution. So this is we can't even imagine the great good fortune that Prabhupada has given us to be able to assist him. What is our qualification? The backgrounds we came from. What's our qualification? But Prabhupada is so kind, he's accepted us to assist him in fulfilling the mission of the great acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the six Goswamis. You see, Lord Chaitanya has given this mission. We are the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We've inherited the mission coming down from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis, of inundating the entire world with Krishna consciousness. And as I mentioned, it's actually been predicted it will happen. This is given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Very nice shloka. Sajjana durjana pangu jada anagana premadanyaya duvaya jagatara jana. This Krishna consciousness movement, it is a prema tsunami, and it is spreading all over the universe, drowning everyone, whether they're lame, invalid or blind, pious or impious. Everyone will become inundated in this prema tsunami of Gauranga's mercy. So this is all coming about by the genius, by the potency, by the brilliant effulgence of Srila Prabhupada, by his powerful preaching. He preached like no one had ever preached before, with the realization and the compassion we've never seen manifested so wonderfully by any previous acharya. Prabhupada told on one morning walk in India that it was, by Lord Chaitanya, only spread within India. Prabhupada said so that I could get credit. Lord Chaitanya was saving this. Prabhupada is such a special devotee. The Lord Chaitanya was saving this, spreading it all over the world to this one very special devotee, is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Nandi Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. So, this is a very auspicious occasion to gather together, simply to hear about Prabhupada, to speak about Prabhupada, to remember Prabhupada. Actually, when we make this endeavor, Krishna takes note, Prabhupada takes note. He takes note. Anyone who is hearing nicely this program tonight, or watching video in the future, they will be recognized by Srila Prabhupada and by Krishna for their attention to these topics, whether it's this meeting or any such gathering anywhere in the world. Anyone who participates in such gatherings or such meetings is recognized by Krishna. Oh, this person is very inclined to hear about my greatest devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna reciprocates. All we have to do is show Krishna we have a little eagerness to hear about him, and especially to hear about his pure devotees. And then he will shower his mercy upon us like torrents of rain in the monsoon season in India. That's an example of the Prabhupada. Like torrents of rain in the monsoon season. One letter, he wrote like that. So if you can get that kind of inundation of mercy, like torrents of rain in the monsoon season, you're in pretty good shape. So that's we want to attract that mercy of Prabhupada, we want to attract that mercy of Krishna by being very eager to hear about, to glorify, to remember, to bow down to, worship, to serve this greatest devotee, the Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And I suppose I can give some anecdotes also. Everybody likes the anecdotes. This was 1971. I was not initiated. We had just actually, Prabhupada had come back from India in July of 1971. For the Rath Yatra in San Francisco. And then after the Rath Yatra, he came down and spent about a week in Los Angeles. And they had so many devotees getting initiated. Prabhupada would chant on every set of beads in the yogis, so they had to do it over several days. It'd be 60 devotees getting initiated. And Prabhupada would go on his morning walk. And he would come back from the walk in a car. And he would get out of the car in front of the LA temple. His quarters are in the back. There was a side entrance. You go up the alley to get to the side entrance in the back. So anyway, Prabhupada would get out of the car, and there was a whole system that we would all line up along the sidewalk. And Prabhupada would have a basket of flowers, and each one of us would have a flower. We give Prabhupada a flower, and he give us a flower. So this way, every devotee got to have his own little interchange. You know, just one-on-one exchange with Prabhupada. It was very sweet. He took time to do it with every single devotee, a little give and take. It was so wonderful. Vishnu Jan Swami was standing right. I was right. He was the first in line, and I was right behind. He got a hug. I felt so good. I'd been recruited by him out in Texas. Wow, my leader, Vishnu Jan Swami, got a hug. Wow. There was no envy. I was just so happy. My leader got hugged by Prabhupada. He was my leader, Vishnu Jan Swami. He got a hug from Prabhupada. Wow. So anyway, I gave Prabhupada my flower. He gave me Prabhupada going on down the line. Now, seeing Prabhupada is not like seeing an ordinary person. So I wanted to get more of that darshan. In other words, when you see, if you look at Prabhupada with the eyes of love, and actually you can drink Prabhupada into your heart through your eyes. You understand what I mean? You can drink Prabhupada into your heart through your eyes. So anyway, now it's the temple. Formerly that was a congregation, like a meeting hall. They had pews still in there. Now the Faith Museum used to be the temple in those days. But anyway, I stood on the steps, which are now the steps of the temple room, just to get a darshan of Prabhupada as he was coming by, going to his quarters in the back, and finishing all the flowers. So I'm standing there, this crazy-looking young kid who just shaved his head from Texas. And Prabhupada looks up at me. He notices, well, here's one that's not standing in the line. He looked up at me and he held a flower out. It was body language only. He didn't say word, but like, did you get a flower yet? Prabhupada wanted to make sure I didn't miss getting a flower. He wanted to make sure that every single devotee got a flower. So, and I didn't say a word, but I just smiled and nodded and just. And I held up my flower to show him I got the flower. So it really touched my heart, Prabhupada. I was just, I wasn't any special devotee, just some crazy kid who just had shaved up in Texas and come out and, wanted to become a disciple. But it was so wonderful to see how Prabhupada cared about every single devotee, and I can tell you, that's what really held our movement together. It still does. Every devotee felt, Prabhupada loves me. Every devotee felt, Prabhupada loves me like nobody in the world loves me. Nobody loves me like Prabhupada. Prabhupada loves me. He really loves me like nobody in the world. I remember that before we went to the Rath Yatra, we were there in Austin, Vishnu Jaya Swami had come to open a preaching center there. And he was telling us all about Prabhupada, different nectar, he was loaded with nectar, Vishnu Jansman. And there was some lady, I forget her name, she had a little daughter, and she was part of the regular, she was coming regular to the programs. A little baby girl was hearing about Prabhupada also. She couldn't hardly even talk, she could say a few words, but she would say, Prabhupada! The little baby girl would just say Prabhupada. It was such an amazing way, like, greater than God, practically. Prabhupada's greater than God, and the way she said it, Prabhupada. And I was going, wow, who is this Prabhupada? This is amazing. This little baby girl is just saying the name Prabhupada is going in a state of divine intoxication, a little baby kid. I was amazed. And then the fact is that even just saying the name Prabhupada, just seeing Prabhupada's photograph, or just seeing his deity, or just, reading his books, you get something amazing. You can't get anywhere in the three worlds. Because Prabhupada is completely beyond this material nature. He's completely beyond this material existence. If you can connect with him in any way, you get an inside connection directly to Krishna himself, to God, to the agency of Prabhupada. So anyway, I think I have enough time. So.
long as you like.
Exactly. You want me to keep talking? I don't want to, load it over. I'd like to hear what my God brothers and God sisters have to say. But, so now we have a mission, you see. Prabhupada told us in Los Angeles. He told his disciples, he said, now you become, now he said, now you become guru to the little world. Prabhupada. So, what are you supposed to do when the spiritual master gives you an order? You're supposed to say, well, I couldn't do that. Not possible for me. That's what we're supposed to think. Prabhupada was told, spread Krishna consciousness in the English-speaking world. And he think, well, I couldn't do that. Just forget it. No. He thought, I don't know how I can do that, but I have to. Prabhupada could not understand how he could ever actually do that, but he knew, I must do that somehow or other. I have been given the order to spread Krishna consciousness movement to the English-speaking world. I have no idea how to even begin to start to do that, but I have to do that. And I have to meditate on that order with my very life and soul. Somehow I have to do that. So, is the order that he got from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, is that any different from us getting an order from him? Is it any less potent? The Prabhupada's order is any less potent than Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's order? Well, that was Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. Who am I? But no. Prabhupada has given us, his disciples, the order, become guru and deliver the entire world. It's right there in the Vedas. You can read it. I'm not making it. It's right there in the Vedas. In Los Angeles class he gave it. So, of course, it's only by his potency. We're just having instruments. That's all. Prabhupada never thought that he had done anything either. He just thought, I'm simply acting, my only credit is I serve my Guru's orders. He gave all credit to the spiritual master. So we don't feel that we can really do that on our own, but we do know that Prabhupada wants us to be instrumental for him to do that through us, you see. In that sense, we have to do that. We have to fully embrace the orders we receive from Prabhupada and let his potency become fully manifested in us. In other words, we just have to get out of the way and let Prabhupada act through us, you see. You just gotta get that lust, gotta get rid of that anger, gotta get rid of that envy, that madness, that illusion. The toughest of them all, envy. We just gotta get those enemies out of the heart, kick them out with a boot, and let Prabhupada act through us. We have to be instruments. We have to distribute his books. We have to do Harinam. We have to distribute Prasadam. We have to be very eager to revolutionize this planet. And even if we're not successful, at least we should make every endeavor to do that until our last dying breath. Prabhupada showed that example. He said, as he was laying there in Vrindavan, reduced to a skeleton, he said, they say that the old man is dying in Vrindavan. But I am beating on my mridanga, and it can be heard all over the world. So even till his last dying breath, Prabhupada was in that mood of revolutionary, to turn history upside down, is it? So that we have to, if we are the true followers of Prabhupada, then we must embrace that revolutionary mission, that revolutionary spirit, that my life is not for sense gratification. My life is to push forward this movement, to revolutionize this planet for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, I'm definitely going to stop. I made my strongest point, and then now it's your turn. Mataji's turn.
So, Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
So now maybe Chintami would like to take the stand, and be a witness to the activities and policies of Srila Prabhupada.
embarrassed to talk in front of Maharaj because he has a lot more realization about Srila Prabhupada, but I have some stories. And this picture I'm passing around shows the very first time I saw Srila Prabhupada was coming off the airplane. You can see the date. It was in May, actually it was May 9th, 1969. And just the month before, I received a letter from Srila Prabhupada, April 29th. And the letter was answering questions I had about Jesus Christ. So just, Srila Prabhupada in the letter said, I will take time to talk to you when I come to Columbus, Ohio. So he came the next month, May 9th, and I was initiated on May, I think it was May 14th. So things were happening very fast. So like 5 days after I met Srila Prabhupada, I got initiated. I'm still not qualified, but that can show his great compassion and hope for the Kali Yuga people. And so I was very excited to see Srila Prabhupada. Actually just one devotee opened a preaching center in Columbus, Ohio. His name's Prajunya. He's in New York right now. Just one person came, and he was even working. He had a job. But he came and he had get-togethers Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And he taught the Bhagavad Gita. And so simply one person who was sincere attracted people. I was the very first person who got initiated in Columbus, Ohio. And so there were a few devotees that came from New York, and then Hayagriva, or Howard Griva, he was teaching at Ohio State University, and Kirtananda came out from Vrindavan, and some devotees came from New York. And this was right before Srila Prabhupada was coming. Narayana was building an altar. We didn't have deities. This was just a house. It was just a brick house, 2 stories with a little attic where some of the women, we got to stay when Prabhupada was there. Srila Prabhupada stayed on the 2nd floor and the men stayed in the basement. And it was just a regular house, but the excitement before Srila Prabhupada was coming was so contagious. These other devotees had seen Srila Prabhupada, and they were really excited, so I was really excited. I didn't know what to expect. And you can see in the picture, if you pass that around, we went to the airport, and there's a picture of Prajunya. He's got a suit on and he's barefooted. It's kind of a funny article too. Like the first line, they said, is this the airline's idea of in-flight entertainment? Because we were having kirtan. And Srila Prabhupada was late, explains that finally they said to stop chanting, and everyone complied. And then Srila Prabhupada came off the plane, and I was really kind of excited, nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to see auras. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was the 1960s, so, but Srila Prabhupada came off the plane, and that was the first time I saw him smiling. And then we drove back to the house, and Srila Prabhupada got situated in his room, just a simple room, and so he was in Columbus for a while. And one thing that happened was Allen Ginsberg came, who was very famous at that time. He was even famous before the hippies, like in the beatnik era. He was a poet, and he had some books out, so people knew about him. So, and he also, Allen Ginsberg also used to go around and chant Hare Krishna. He had a big, Uncle Sam top hat on, chant Hare Krishna. He didn't have the potency to spread the movement like Srila Prabhupada did, but somehow he was attracted. So when Allen Ginsberg came, he was talking to Srila Prabhupada just like Swamiji, I'll talk, and then you can talk. They were going to have a program at Ohio State University in Hitchcock Hall. And I was really surprised because we were watching the way Allen Ginsberg was talking to Srila Prabhupada. And I was afraid to say anything to Srila Prabhupada. And here was someone just talking like, taking charge, and Srila Prabhupada was really humble. And so we had posters we put up all over campus that had a picture of Allen Ginsberg on one side, had a picture of Srila Prabhupada on the other side. And invited everyone to Hitchcock Hall on May 12, 1969 in Columbus, Ohio. And so we went there, and Srila Prabhupada was up on the stage, and I can't remember how many devotees there were, probably about 15 or maybe, probably about 15 devotees, maybe 20. And we were around Srila Prabhupada. And the place was completely packed. There was a balcony, and it was packed. There was about 2,000 people that came. And these were all Midwestern, as Heidi said, clean-faced kids. They weren't the bohemians in New York. They weren't the hippies in San Francisco. They were just pretty much straight college students who didn't really know about Hare Krishna, unless they probably didn't even know the mantra unless they'd seen the play card Hair, where they chanted Hare Krishna. And so a lot of them mostly came to see Allen Ginsberg. And Allen Ginsberg had his microphone, Srila Prabhupada had his microphone, and they both gave a talk. Srila Prabhupada's accent was a little more distinct back then, and then I was going to be initiated in just a couple of days, and I was sitting, just looking at Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was like facing the audience like this, and we were on the sides, and I was like at the very end. And I knew I was going to be initiated. I was just praying and praying to Srila Prabhupada. I couldn't believe I was going to get initiated. I hardly even knew what that meant. And I was just praying to Srila Prabhupada, just let me surrender everything. And when I was praying like that, Srila Prabhupada, he really had to turn his head to look at me, but he turned his head. And this was the mystical experience that happened, that only happened one time when I was around him, but just by his glance, my whole consciousness suddenly changed. It was almost like I forgot about myself completely and could see everything differently, not like seeing visions, but seeing everything according to the scripture. We only had the Bhagavad Gita back then, and the books Srila Prabhupada brought from the Jaladuta, the first 3 volumes of the Bhagavatam. But it was just like time stood still, and I looked out at the audience and saw all these people in the mode of ignorance, and then I looked at Srila Prabhupada, and he looked like he was effulgent, and I could really understand that he had just come here to deliver us, that he had so much compassion. And, some ordinary people may go, oh, look at the Swamis being worshipped, and people bow down to him. But it wasn't like that at all. I was realizing what an austerity it was for a pure devotee to come into the material world. And then we had this kirtan that was the most amazing kirtan I've ever seen in my entire life. I've seen a lot of kirtans, but this one was amazing because Srila Prabhupada was chanting, and gradually all the people in the audience started to catch on to the Hare Krishna mantra. They started memorizing Hare Krishna mantra. And I'm sure that most of them were chanting for the very first time in their life. But gradually, everyone started chanting. And there's one verse that said that Lord Chaitanya broke open the storehouse of the love of God, and that always reminds me of this kirtan. It's just like Srila Prabhupada broke open the storehouse of the love of God, because not only did everyone start chanting, they started chanting like devotees. They started going crazy. Then all the devotees, we started standing up and dancing on the stage. And then people in the audience started coming up toward the stage. Some were standing in their chairs. The Srila Prabhupada stood up on the Vyasasana, which was just like this box with a pillow. Srila Prabhupada actually stood up on the Vyasasana, and he was dancing. And he was taking flowers from his garland and throwing them, and even the people in the audience were trying to catch them, like everyone became a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada had this power to get people to chant, to get people to have a taste. He actually was empowered to do that. And I had just had this experience where Prabhupada looked at me and my whole consciousness changed. And anyway, I started chanting. Just no one really cared what they looked like. Everyone was going crazy. I just started chanting like a total crazy person, I'm sure. But it didn't matter because I could feel Krishna was in the holy name, like so powerful. I felt like my body was invisible. It was just like Srila Prabhupada had the power to allow people to get a real taste of bhakti, you know, and I felt like the holy name was Krishna, and at one point it felt like every cell in my body meant Krishna, and everyone was, well, what happened was Allen Ginsberg grabbed his microphone and he said, I've never seen so many people jumping out of their skins. And it was like that. It was like everyone was just going crazy. And under Srila Prabhupada said, a person who has Krishna prema is like a drunk man. He doesn't know whether his clock is on or off. It was kind of like that. You just forgot about everything. You forgot it was just, everyone was caught up in this love of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada was so powerful, and after that, you know, you couldn't even go to sleep. It was just like shaking just from the energy. And when we were in the same house with Srila Prabhupada, there was Shamadasi, Harigiri's wife, and myself, and another Mataji, I forget her name, that she was initiated. She was from New York. She always wore bell bottoms because she told me she wanted to be like Bob Dylan in her next lifetime. So, I mean, Srila Prabhupada was initiating people that were, you know, maybe not understand the philosophy too well, but he was very compassionate. And so then someone said, do you know why Srila Prabhupada's clothes? And they gave me his clothes, and they didn't look dirty. There was no dirt on them, you know. It was like silk, and they smelled really good. And they said, okay, go in the bathroom and run some water in the bathtub and wash the clothes. And then there was a line going through the hallway. And I was in the middle of washing the clothes, and Srila Prabhupada had to come to the bathroom. And sometimes you feel like, oh, he saw me doing some sort of this. You feel really good because he might say something. And then, so he was in Columbus, Ohio. That was really the greatest thing to see that kirtan, and he was very, very compassionate. And one time we had just a very small temple room. It was about a fourth the size of this room, and that was the first time I'd seen devotees dancing. And one time Srila Prabhupada got off the Vyasam and they were saying the giant prayers. Everyone was paying out their obeisances, and Srila Prabhupada came by me. He stopped and he reached down and he touched me in the back like that. And then Narayan, he was saying the giant prayers, and Srila Prabhupada went upstairs, and Narayan came over and said, did Prabhupada touch you? Did Srila Prabhupada touched you? Do you know what that means? And I felt really blessed. And it didn't matter if you're a woman or a man or young or old or what nationality, it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered being around Srila Prabhupada was the sincerity, because he could see right through you. You know, I always felt kind of like shy around Srila Prabhupada because you knew he could see right through you, but at the same time, he had so much love and compassion. And just like, I saw him in other temples also, but you could be, later on when there were a lot more devotees, you could be in a room, Srila Prabhupada would be giving a lecture, like every devotee would say, Srila Prabhupada looked at me, Srila Prabhupada answered a question, I didn't even ask it. Or everyone felt like, you know, maybe they just saw Srila Prabhupada one time and Prabhupada looked at them, like one devotee was throwing flower petals and Srila Prabhupada looked up, and they remember that their entire life, you know. And some devotees never saw Srila Prabhupada personally. there's like so many devotees, so many people here have come and felt Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And so then after Columbus, he was going to New Vrindavan for the very first time, which at that time New Vrindavan was this really old house. You had to walk a path about 2.5 miles or 2 miles through the woods. So there were 2 carloads of devotees. I was sitting in the car ready to go, really excited, and the brand new president came out, Jagopati, said, "You can't go." Srila Prabhupada said, "Only brahmacharis and households could live at New Vrindavan." And I was crying, and I was like, and then there was just one Indian lady, and she ran up and she told Srila Prabhupada, and he said, "She can come. She can stay as long as I'm there and then go to another temple." So I was really happy. I got to get back in the car, and then they took off, and they got to New Vrindavan. I'd never been there before also. And there was not even a road going up to the house. There was just a path. You could hardly see the path in some smart parts. It was just like grass that was smashed down. But we couldn't keep up with Srila Prabhupada. He was like walking so fast. He was way ahead of us. I got there. I was like, when are we going to get there? I had all my possessions at that time, which was a new sleeping bag, a few saris and a brush and some tilak, and that was about it. Bhagavad Gita. And I was like, when are we going to get there? Srila Prabhupada was already there. And then, so when I finally got there, it's like, oh, finally. Srila Prabhupada was sitting outside, and it was in May, but I remember it was very hot. It's probably in the 80s, and it just seemed like Srila Prabhupada transferred the whole, whoever he was, into the spiritual world. It says that in the scriptures also that sometimes the pure devotee goes to the holy places, and then the holy places become purified. And I've been to the holy places also, but actually, when I saw Srila Prabhupada, it felt more ecstatic than going to the holy places, because he's pure devotee of Krishna. And just by, for me, just like seeing him talk, it gave me so much faith that Krishna was real, because here was someone who actually knew Krishna. He actually was an associate of Krishna. So when we finally got to New Vrindavan, we were sitting scattered around, and Srila Prabhupada looked really happy, and Satyabhama and her husband, they were living in this remodeled chicken coop. They were I think they were the only household was living at New Vrindavan. She came out with prasad, we were eating prasad, just watching Srila Prabhupada. And I was really hungry because we had the long drive, and then we had the long walk, and when she came out with seconds and we were scattered around, she accidentally missed me, but I couldn't talk in front of Srila Prabhupada. I couldn't say I want more, or anything like that. In my mind, I just thought, oh, I wish I could have more. And at that very instant, Srila Prabhupada looked up, he looked right at me, and he goes, "Oh, you want more?" And it scared me so much. It scared me so much, I just nodded my head. And I was so scared. I thought, oh my God, he knows everything I'm thinking. I became really paranoid for a couple of days. Every time I saw Srila Prabhupada, I thought, I better not think, and then I get some swear word or something, and I couldn't control my mind. Oh no, he knew I thought that. I was really embarrassed. So every time I saw Srila Prabhupada for a couple of days, I wanted to just crawl in a hole and disappear. And then one day he knew what I was going through. He went out of his way, he came up to me, I was sitting outside, he had this big smile. He was amused by the whole thing. He just looked at me and said, "It is all right." I felt whew, he knows I'm not my mind. Hare Krishna. And so there are a lot of different little incidents that happened. One time, while I was cleaning his room, he would go out for a walk. He was at the New Vrindavan. He was up, it's a little house where he was on the top floor. They had a mattress on the floor, and he had little Radha Krishna deities. And I would sweep it and mop it, and then I would be out of there before he came back. So one day, I don't know what happened, maybe it was raining, he came back before I was finished, and I just started sweeping. I was so nervous. He was sitting on the mattress chanting, just looking at me, and I was sweeping. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta get the dirt. I guess I was taking too long because it was the only time he didn't yell at me, he just raised his voice. That was enough to really scare me. He said something like, what are you messing around for? You know, why don't you use a dustpan? And I felt like it was the end of the world. I just got initiated and I thought, oh, you know, oh my God, you know, it's the end of the world. Srila Prabhupada isn't happy with me, and I had all these tears coming down, and I ran downstairs and I was like getting the dust in, and I was crying, not out loud, but Srila Prabhupada just looked he was smiling, looked kind of happy, and then he had a trunk that had come from India. It was a black metal trunk, and there's a picture of Bhaktisiddhanta with a garland around it. And he took the garland off of the picture and he held it out to me. He said, here, this is from Krishna with blessings. And it was so powerful because it felt like Krishna was right there. And I took the garland and I was still crying. He goes, isn't it all right? He always used to say that, isn't it all right? So he was very merciful to women, and I'm glad I joined when I did because it was before we had, like, as one Mataji said, the wall of saffron surrounding Prabhupada. He was surrounded by brahmacharis and sannyasis, and, you know, there was no hope at that time to, you know, I actually got to put a garland on him and wash his clothes, and that was really nectar. And then things were happening so fast, so I had to go to another temple. I went to Los Angeles. It was the La Cienega temple. It was the first temple in Los Angeles. And every day, two devotees would go with Srila Prabhupada, would go on a walk. And the two women and then two men. It was really nice. We'd get in the car and we'd get to go for a walk with Srila Prabhupada. And at that time, that was the big temple. There was Vishajan Swami. Everyone looked up to him. Was he a Swami? Vishajan. And then there was a lot of famous devotees. Tamal Krishna was the president. And at that time, everyone was going to open temples. And that's when I was sent to Japan to open the temple in Japan. So I got initiated, I got married to this total stranger, and went to Japan. That was like a little over half a year. And the thing is, I look back and like, how did that even happen? Because Srila Prabhupada, he really wanted a temple in Japan. And so somehow things were happening. Srila Prabhupada was empowering us. And he can still empower us, but I'm not as fortunate as Prabhu here. Because I have to go back and remember, like, wow, Srila Prabhupada sent us to Japan. We didn't know anyone, we didn't have any money, we didn't even speak the language. He said, that's okay, if your house is on fire, you can convey that. And everything seemed to make sense. It's like, I didn't even think twice about getting on the plane and going, and then all the books at that time were printed in Japan. If you look at the old books, it'll say Dinapan. And so Srila Prabhupada came 2 times when I was there, and that was real nice. I got my Gayatri from Srila Prabhupada, and then he came, he had just given the sannyasa initiation in Hawaii, and they all came to Japan. We had this tiny little house. And we were going out on Harinam every day. We had Bhakti Godheads and printed in Japanese, and I'd sell Bhakti Godheads. I knew enough Japanese to sell Bhakti Godhead. And then they started talking Japanese. I'd go, Nihongo Karana, I don't speak Japanese. And they go, you just spoke it, you know. But anyway, Srila Prabhupada came and with all these sannyasis, and I was the only woman, and I felt very uncomfortable. I was sleeping out in the car because there was no place to sleep. And it was like the first time we were chanting Sanskrit, and then one day someone said, you can go get your Gayatri mantra. I didn't really know what that was, but Srila Prabhupada said, sit here. And I went to the Prabhupada, he said, sit here. I got to sit right next to Srila Prabhupada and get the paper, and then he showed me how to count on the fingers. I'd never seen that before, and then he said, now you do it. And I did it, and he looked at the person I was married to, and he goes, oh, very intelligent, because I'd done it right. And just little things like that would really be encouraging. And then the second time Srila Prabhupada came to Japan, the person I was married to took sannyas. I guess he'd been thinking about it. He asked Srila Prabhupada, can I take sannyas? And then Srila Prabhupada said, you have to get my permission. And I said, I thought for a minute, I said, okay. And that meant I had to go to another temple. So I went to China. And I got to see Srila Prabhupada. He gave me a flower. I still have it. I smashed it and kept it. And then I saw him a few different times. But what happened was I ended up with the Jagannath deities that were on the altar in Japan. That's a long story. I won't tell the whole thing. But they were supposed to go to Hong Kong. But then Borjan was there. And he said, you're too attached. Keep them. And it wasn't really authorized yet. But when I went back to America, then I went to the Philippines, and then I went back to America. And I stopped in Los Angeles, and Srila Prabhupada was there, and everyone said, what are you doing with your own deities? Because I was living in the ashram, and had the Jagannath deities in this box. And everyone was saying, you shouldn't have these deities in a box in the ashram. And they said, Srila Prabhupada said, worship the deities in the temple, you don't need to have your own deities. But I was really attached to them because that was all I really had. And so then, we could have darshan with Srila Prabhupada. It's the first time I really got up the courage to talk to Srila Prabhupada. And I took the box of deities, and I went up, and there was no one else in the room, and he wanted to know how I was doing in the Philippines. I talked to him for a little bit, I got up the courage to talk, and then I said, Srila Prabhupada, I have Lord Jagannath in this box, and I want them to see you. I opened the box and stood the deities up. This was in 1972. Spring, I think. And he was really smiling. He said, oh, they're gorgeous. Those are the deities I still have. And then he said, so your husband's taking sannyas? I said, yes. He said, then you just make Lord Jagannath your husband, Balaram your son, and Subhadra your daughter. He said it 2 times. And, but before he said that, what happened was, I said, Srila Prabhupada, everyone's telling me I can't worship these deities. Because even the president at the time, Jaitirtha, had come up and said, we don't want to make you cry, but Srila Prabhupada said this, and Srila Prabhupada said. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, everyone's telling me I can't worship these deities. And he said, who's saying? And then I started saying, Srila Prabhupada, you said, I started to tell Srila Prabhupada what he said. Because everyone said Srila Prabhupada said this. And he just interrupted me. He goes, never mind. You make Lord Jagannath your life and soul, and you will be happy your whole life. So you can see Srila Prabhupada says different things to different people, and would act in different ways with different people. And then at the end of the conversation, I said, is there any chance of you going back to Godhead? He said, you just do what I told you, and he said you'll become fully liberated Krishna conscious and go back to God in this very lifetime. But that's the catch, doing what he told us. Krishna, it's not always easy. But so after Srila Prabhupada gave me that instruction, everywhere I went with the deities, everyone was like, Jai! They were on the altar. They've been on the altar at so many temples, and no one ever said anything to me after that about the deities, but anyway, there's a lot of other little pastimes, but maybe someone else would like to talk.
Anyway, we'll wrap this up in a few minutes. It's starting to get a little bit late, but I think most of you have probably heard my pastimes with Prabhupada at the Bhakti Vriksha meetings. So I don't think I'll go into them tonight so much, those of you that go to the Bhakti Vriksha meetings. But there was some pastimes I wanted to relate that I just heard just last fall when I was in Vrindavan. We were having Prabhupada night there on a regular basis, and all the older devotees would come and explain the different pastimes that they had had. So I can relate a few that I heard at the time. And Brahmananda Panchagoda convince Brahmananda to start coming back to the temple. And so Brahmananda was also giving some pastimes. And he was saying that there was a few times where Prabhupada actually showed his mystical powers. Prabhupada never did that very much. But one time when Brahmananda had, I think it was like bronchitis, they were expecting to do something. They were expecting to go somewhere. But Brahmananda was so sick, he went to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada, I'm so sick, I can hardly do anything. You know? So I don't think I can go. And he said, sick? Prabhupada said, sick? Sick? Come here. So Brahmananda went down before Prabhupada. Prabhupada put his hands on his head, Brahmananda's head, and just kind of like meditated for a little bit. Then he took his hands away, and Brahmananda said, after that, I was cured. Everything was fine, no problem again. So then went off to their engagement. And the same thing happened again, where Brahmananda was in India, and I think at the time he was staying in somebody's basement. Anyway, he got sick, got very sick. Once again, Prabhupada asked him, well, can you do this? No, I'm sick, Prabhupada, I can't do this. And once again, Prabhupada came and put his hands on Brahmananda's body to relieve him of the suffering that he was undergoing. I think he had something like scabies or something. So it's rather serious. But Prabhupada put his hands on his body, and immediately everything was gone. Cured him. And these are pastimes many people don't know about, because Brahmananda didn't really express this, and many people aren't aware of these pastimes. Then another time, Brahmananda was the temple president in New York City. He had a really stomach problem, really serious stomach problem. He was going to the bathroom, he could hardly walk, he could barely crawl, and he was in the bathroom, trying to take care of things, and suddenly the phone rings. Oh my God, now I gotta answer the phone. So he went, and immediately he went and ran to the phone. It was the temple president from, I think, Los Angeles or somewhere, saying that, yes, Temple Prabhupada is coming to the New York temple in a few days. You have to get things ready. And Brahmananda just realized that, my God, I ran to the phone, I don't feel any problems, and he's trying to convey to the person he was talking to, guess what? Because of Prabhupada, I'm cured. I'm cured. The temple president's going like, yeah, okay, well, I just want to let you know that Prabhupada's coming. But you don't understand, I was so sick, I couldn't move, I could barely crawl, and now I'm fine. Okay, that's fine, but anyway, get ready because Prabhupada's coming. So it was like that, that Prabhupada actually displayed this kind of mystical power with some of his devotees at that time. But there was also another devotee that came, Satyanarayana. He works with BBT in India, and he was also saying that one time, I think this was in Los Angeles, somewhere on the West Coast, where Prabhupada had arrived, and in the airport, you come up the elevator, or the escalator. You come up the escalator into this one area where, you greet the devotees, you greet the guests who's ever waiting for you. So the devotees were all in this particular area waiting for Prabhupada to come up the escalator. And Satyanarayana was watching, and he was saying, I could swear that when Prabhupada came up the escalator, instead of getting off the escalator, he just kept going up. And glided over to the Vyasasan that they had arranged for him, and then very lightly sat down. And at the time, nobody's really sure, did I really see that? So Satyanarayana just carried that with him for a long time, never said anything to anybody about it. And then he met some other devotees who'd been there too, and he said, I wanted to ask you, I saw Prabhupada just come up the escalator and just keep going and glide over. I could have swore that was what happened. And the other devotee said, I saw the same thing. And so then it confirmed in his mind that, actually he did really see this. So otherwise it was difficult to do that. Then there was another devotee, Shrutidas, and his mother was a very sophisticated lawyer, and she was experienced at establishing irrevocable trusts. So this, I think, was when the time Prabhupada was establishing his own irrevocable trust. I think it had something to do, or was the BBT trust. And she was working with Prabhupada to establish this irrevocable trust for Prabhupada's mission. And she said, out of all the different clients, because she was expert at it, she knew exactly how to do it. She said, out of all the clients that she had ever had, Prabhupada knew more about irrevocable trust and what he wanted than anybody else. So anyway, they got to be very familiar. You know, they would have talks and stuff like that. And whenever Prabhupada was in town, Shruti Das's mother would go see him, and it was very nice. So, but then gradually she got cancer, you know, later in life. She got cancer. And she was and this was after Prabhupada had disappeared, after he left the planet. And Shruti Das went in to see his mother, and his mother was talking to somebody in the room. He couldn't really understand Prabhupada. Mother, you know, asking her, Mother, who are you talking to? And she just looked over and said, I'm talking to Prabhupada. Prabhupada came here to save me. And then shortly after that, she left. Just like that. So, and of course, I'm sure all of you may have heard the story of Shamasundar. Anybody that was at New Vrindavan last week knows this story, but Shamasundar has also told it a few times. But then Shamasundar became very good friends with George Harrison. So what happened was, he would go to see George Harrison on a regular basis. And at one point, Prabhupada was in London and asked Shamasundar, can you see if George will give the donation for the printing of the Krishna book? And Shamasundar said, oh, Prabhupada, you know, I'd like to, but, you know, if I do that, then he's going to think like we're just like everybody else that just wants to know him for his money. Prabhupada said, no, you just ask him. Krishna will provide the means. He'll give you some assistance. He'll provide the way. Shamasundar said, oh, okay, I'll see what I can do. So anyway, Shamasundar goes to see George Harrison that day. And they're talking and they're discussing, they're doing so many different things. Then they go out for dinner, they have a nice dinner, and he's getting ready to ask George Harrison for some money. He doesn't really want to do that. So the dinner goes by, and then he's getting ready, but then they order dessert. So okay, let me wait until after dessert, and then I'll ask him. So then afterwards, they're in the kitchen in this big house that George Harrison had just bought, was fixing up. They were doing a lot of, you know, repair and remodeling work there at the time. So there was this storm that was coming through. And Shamasundar finally got the nerve to ask George Harrison. And first he said, well, George, Srila Prabhupada wanted me to ask you. You know, he didn't want to take the blame. He said, Srila Prabhupada wanted me to ask you if you can help fund the expense for printing the Krishna book. And then George Harrison gets this weird look on his face like, what, you too? And then suddenly the storm was there, and there was a loud clap of lightning, and the lights went off. Everything was pitch dark. You couldn't even see each other across the room. And a few minutes went by like that. Nobody said a word. Then the lights come back on, and George Harrison is smiling. He's going, so, how much is it? How much do you want? Or how much do you need? Or something like that. So it was like, I think it was like, what was it, 20,000 pounds or something like that. So it was a rather... What was it, 15, 20,000? $17,000. So it was a substantial amount. But anyway, Shamasundar went back to Prabhupada and says, George Harrison agreed to do that. And Prabhupada just smiled. See, Krishna made all the arrangements. So, I'll just finish with this. Oh yeah, there was one other time Shamasundar was helping Prabhupada travel at the time. This was back when Shamasundar was traveling with Srila Prabhupada. And they were making arrangements to go from South Africa, I believe it was, to Mumbai. So when they come to Mumbai, they want the customs men wants the yellow shot slips, you know, these yellow sheets that say they've had their yellow fever shots. So the yellow fever shots, and they didn't have it. And the customs man says, well, there's two things you can do. You can either get back on the plane and go back to South Africa, or you can spend 2 weeks in one house in like hibernation.
Quarantine.
Yeah, quarantine, that's what it was. It was quarantine. So Prabhupada said, well, let's take the quarantine, let's go. We can use the rest. So there was almost 2 weeks where Prabhupada and Shamasundar got very close, and whatever other devotees, I think there was a few other devotees too, where they all got very close association. Bhavananda? And so they were all very closely knit like that. And Prabhupada was taking things very nicely, very much in stride. It was very nice like that. And because Shamasundar thought, man, he's going to get it now. He forgot the sheets for the yellow fever shots. How incompetent can I be? But Prabhupada was very nice about it. But then at the end, almost at the end, there was like only 2 days left of the quarantine. And Prabhupada looked up and said, you know, I think I have one of those slips. Yellow fever slips. Yeah, call so-and-so, have him look in my drawer in my compartment, and see if it's there. And sure enough, you know, Prabhupada must have known that he had this, you know, slip all along. And sure enough, so the devotees get it, they come down, and they bring Prabhupada back to the temple, and the other boys have to stay there for another day or two to finish out their quarantine. But he was just saying how merciful Prabhupada was, that, you know, he didn't get upset. He, you know, managed everything very calmly, showed great mercy on all the devotees, but actually he must have known all along that he had a yellow fever slip.
He got up in all of his correspondence at that time. He was way behind his correspondence.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of correspondence, a lot of letters, stuff like that, so he used the time very wisely. There's no doubt about that. Then the one last story I'll tell you is about Guru Kripa. Now, for those of you that don't know Guru Kripa, he was a very tough devotee, a Vietnam veteran, you know, very, very strong, very tough. Not everybody knew how to handle him. So he had been a devotee for a short time. He knew he wanted to go to India to be with Srila Prabhupada. I think he'd only been a devotee for about a year, maybe a year and a half. So he went to Mumbai, and somehow he got on the life membership program where they would go out to visit different Indian guests and sign them up to be life members. So he went to this one corporation because they would have appointments. So he went to this one corporation, and the men there were just testing him. You know, they wanted to see, okay, you know, so let's ask him a few questions. So when Guru got there, they were asking him some questions. He was explaining the life membership program and everything, and then the men asked him, so who do you think is the hero of the Bhagavad Gita? And Guru Kripa, you know, he's not very cultivated in all this. He says, well, Arjuna. Arjuna must be the hero of Bhagavad Gita. No, they didn't. Said, no. It was Karna. They're talking about either Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata. So, and Guru Kripa was explaining that he had a sheet of paper, you know, about making sure that he would remember, okay, who's Queen Kunti, she's the mother of so-and-so, who's Karna, you know, who's Yudhisthira, who's Dhritarashtra, you know, he's just trying to keep up with all this stuff, you know, all these things. So then the men there, they were saying, okay, who's the hero of the Mahabharata? Well, Arjuna. Arjuna must be the hero of the Mahabharata. No, he says, Karna is the hero of the Mahabharata. They're discussing, no, this person is the hero of the Mahabharata. And so they were just getting, a group of people kind of agitated. No, you don't know anything, do you? You're really not very educated. You come here, you think you wanted to make us light members, and you still don't know that much? What? Don't you understand anything? What is your guru teaching you? And group people says, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. I know that I may not be very smart, but I know I'm also advancing because of Srila Prabhupada. Because he's given me so much mercy. Because a year ago, if you would have talked to me this way, I would have smashed your skull in that table right there. And then the men started laughing. No, we were just testing you. We wanted to know if we could make you angry or not. No, it's not. We're not taking this, conversation about who the hero of the Mahabharata is very seriously. He says, so they all laughed about it, and they all signed up and became life members. It's 8:45 now, so I think we can end it here. And anyway, I hope that all of you who have attended have enjoyed this little session of talking and remembering different incidences about Srila Prabhupada. And maybe we'll do this Prabhupada night again sometime. So I hope you all liked it, and I wish to thank Sankarshan Prabhu and Chintamani Prabhu and all of you for coming and sharing in these memories. So, of course, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.